Welcome to the late Permian. If it were a country, Donald Trump would call it a shithole. The world is a desert without the resources that would otherwise make it worth caring about. The only liquid being extracted from the ground is lava, and the only kind of gas spreading its influence is of the greenhouse variety. Both of these roads lead to the intense volcanic activity in the Siberian traps. In short, Earth-stopping cold turkey has hit its apex of not goodness. For this segment, we will be looking into what is known as the Great Dying. Kenny never refers to it as that, probably because the BBC couldn't trademark it. What's happening at this point in history gives the Ordovician-Silurian Extinction Event Company, Superior Company. Kenny will go on to say,
and wipe out 90% of life on Earth.
Which is just about right, but he doesn't describe the overall picture. In a sense, there are two sides of the story. On land, the insane amount of carbon dioxide unleashed in Siberia acted as a blanket that kept the sun's heat from leaving the Earth. Not to mention, it continued to let in even more of the sun's heat because that's just how life is. The global temperature reached maddening heights, entire ecosystems were destroyed, and 70% of terrestrial species didn't see the end of it. In the water? Well, water absorbs carbon dioxide really well. Certain creatures rely on stable carbon dioxide levels to maintain their beautiful bodies. More carbon dioxide also means less oxygen. And the oxygen in the water dropped by 80%. 80! Fish suffocated, exoskeletons dissolved, shells dissolved, coral disintegrated, and 95% of marine species didn't see the end of it. Carbon dioxide was the big constant in the explanations. I think you know where I'm going with this. A relapse was bound to happen, but to see the world switch to something even more destructive hurts my soul. Earth, look at me. Look at me! You're becoming your sister. Unbeknownst to Earth, and knowns to me, Mr. Sharx, there are people living there that want to make their lands a better place however they can. But when the people at the top are incompetence incarnate, there's nothing you can do but rise up. So basically, the Sing dynasty. Tyrannical, corrupt, ruler is 14. They've doubled down on their feudalist society, which led to territorial expansion away from the Middle Kingdom, which included moving into the glass-boned, paper-skinned land of Siberia. Maybe checking what was under the hood at a time like this wasn't such a good idea, you bozos. The sheer existence of a loyalist faction is absolutely bewildering. The loyalists are best described as disappointed parents that still love their child. Their strategy is to exploit the religious population of the Eastern Hemisphere with eerie recordings warped and twisted to sound like an opera from the depths of hell. Their other shtick is guerrilla warfare. They go from place to place in large groups and drain the resources of their undersupplied adversaries. Despite looking like the strongest faction of them all, they are actually not the strongest faction of them all. I'm no psychic ninja warrior, but this might be because their morale is below sea level. Desertion tends to happen. Don't let Sing Dynasty propaganda tell you otherwise. Oh no, what is this? A private has gone AWOL? Who could have seen this coming? Perfect time for a communist soldier to strike and drain the abandoner of his flesh. For this act of treachery, this coward will not be on any memorials. Therefore, he will not live forever. Okay, next up is the communists. That's with an asterisk. Karl Marx wouldn't be born for another 100 million years, but they are real communists, I swear. Here they are draining a large body of water in the middle of a desert. Apparently on land, it doesn't get more large and lethal than this. They're so cool that the group they originated from, the Communistomorphs, killed off the 250 million year continuity that was the focal point of this series. The point the BBC is trying to make here is that we're witnessing the lineage of humans. What the hell happened here? Do all pelycosaurs look the same? I'm tired of just acknowledging this. Alright, much to the attention of the global stage, the communist faction is the first entity to allow women to enter the high command, such as Natalia Crunch, known by her underlings as Captain Crunch. I wouldn't say she's a good role model though. Throughout her career, she'll put much of her energy into hitting on the soldiers. Since the beginning of time, there are only two types of girls in this world. The ones that start with a hey, and the ones that start with this. Hey boys, how do you like your sediment-rich water? Cream? Sugar? Or do you want me to pee in it? You look at them and bam, offense. In all actuality, they follow Mao Zedong's philosophy of men over land. Land can be retaken, men cannot. Wow, a big market team embracing analytics. There goes the parody of the Civil War. This is gonna be so boring, says you. Well, A, I haven't covered all the factions yet, and B, look at how it's working out for them. They just gave their water to the enemy. How nice of them. Somehow, this move didn't harm them the most. Nobody suffers a worse defeat in this scenario than...
A giant amphibian labyrinthodont.
He did it. What kind of reaction were you expecting? This kind?
A giant amphibian labyrinthodont.
There. Best of both worlds. Here on the Mr. Sharx channel, I give the player options. It's been 110 million years since we've seen an actual amphibian. Barely enough time for Kenny to settle down with the racism. And by settle down, I mean revert to just above Devonian levels. Trash talking, but without the sympathy that made the Hynerpeton monologue sorta tolerable. Alright, to be completely honest, Kenny more so gives off "the future is now, old man" vibes. Okay, can we look at this shot? And then look at this one? And this one. The Labyrinthodon, not just a giant amphibian, which it is, congratulations Kenny, utilizes ambush. You're fucked. So out of the three factions, ask yourself this. Who has the best chance at losing the war for China the least painfully? Take into consideration the fourth and final group embroiled in the hunt.
Diectodon, a hardy little burrower, just half a meter long.
The Diectodon clan. Unfortunately shortened to Diek clan, these guys know their way around the strategies of warfare. They are willing to die for their cause. To them, the Sing dynasty lied about having the Mandate of Heaven. In their eyes, it was just a political tool to steal the trust of the Chinese people. The Dieks believe in themselves, and they believe in the gods. Perhaps the gods believe in the Dieks on top of all that. The late Permian requires its participants to adapt as quickly as things have gone to shit. Kenny says it's perfect for reptiles. No. It's perfect for the Diek clan, because they're not reptiles, BBC. Despite having the worst infighting issues out of all four of the factions, they are unstoppable. The burrows they dig are as important to survival in a hellscape as the air conditioner. It's too hot, the Dieks enter the hole. Nothing to eat, you may find sustenance that the drought can't ruin. Commies going on the offensive? Well, they can't touch this. They're too legit to quit. Their opponents fell out of the standings one by one. The Loyalists couldn't handle the heat, so they left the kitchen. The Rheinsuchus, not just a Labyrinthodon either, Kenny.
Don't make me laugh, no.
And the Communists, as powerful as they seemed, collapsed like it was the late 1980s. Small animals typically make it through mass extinctions. Natalia didn't want her boys less than 9 feet long. Well, come on out, Major Diek. Time to claim the Mandate of Heaven. Time for a new China. Time to completely kill off the continuity that has lasted 300 million years! You could say they broke it at the end of episode 2, but there is no bigoted technicality to speak of. Anyway, 2 million years is enough time to check on Earth's progress to sobriety. Last time, there was a lot to be desired. Now, well, 248 million years ago. Welcome to the Triassic, where inbreeding reigns supreme. The Diek clan's descendants have matured into Lystrosauruses, who now go by Diek dynasty. They're big, they're strong, they're everywhere, and they're everyone. 52% of the times creatures were a Lystrosaurus. They are so everyone that scientists use them as evidence for continental drift. The Diek dynasty didn't just control China or Siberia, they controlled all of the former Gondwana, a dream since the OG period. How did this happen? Are their tusks the best invention since wings? Well, there was nothing that could stop them. Was in bold, italics, and underlined. This segment is about their predictably quick downfall. As funny as it would have been for these strange creatures to be the dominant species for another 30 million years, it's time to pay up. Pay up to the gods that motivated them into taking over China. The Diek dynasty claims to have the mandate of vengeful gods that are to be feared, no questions asked, but they're actually decent. They love the Diek dynasty, but they love the world more. The Diek dynasty is rampaging throughout the entire world, eating up all the vegetation the Earth has to show for its recovery. This must end. The only way to eliminate this issue is to kill them off. Kill them all off. The gods zero in on this particular herd of Lystrosaurus to experiment with new techniques. With the Huns released, Project Maria is a go. The strategy is to use the Huns to wait for dark, sneak attack, bite, envenomate, and dart away. This process is cheap, lethal, and not a fun way to die. You kinda wanna be there for the Lystrosaurus, but Kenny says the Lystrosauruses are stone cold. They show that life goes on within you and without you, like a Lystrosaurus herd. They surge onward as if nothing happened. They don't flee for their lives, nor do they stop to check on their buddy. Sickening. This loss was a hiccup at worst, not good enough for the gods that want them dealing with at least a persistent cough. Back to the drawing board. It's clear they need to move faster. They thought about bringing lines to the Triassic period via time travel, but that's so fucking dumb. Fret not, there are reptiles to be batshit terrified of in the Triassic either way. The gods understand the Lystrosaurus are heading towards a river. Then it hit them. Chasmatosaurs, aka the Overlift Rippers, aka Proterosuchus. A Proterosuchus, not just an amphibian, which once again it is not. Oops. I assume two of the greatest nightmares of humanity are stepping on a crocodile and being snuck up on by a shark. I feel for the Lystrosaurus, and it only gets worse. The gods have a safety net in case the plan doesn't yield good results. The Schizolystro. More on it later. No matter what, the Chasmatosaurs will be eating like kings. Whoa, hold the conch shell. 3 of these animals that we've been introduced to look familiar. Like I've seen them come together once before. Yeah, that's right.
Keep your eye on this one because it's about to become the dinosaurs.
No, that's wrong. Sorry, Bill Wars fans. This is the guy whose children will be the dinosaurs. Euparkeria. Where to begin with this guy? Well, like the Lystrosaurus, his ancestors also made it through the Great Dying, which means he's also too legit to quit. He didn't become fat and complacent like the Dictodon. He's still innovating and bettering himself. It looks kinda stupid now, but in the future it'll be hip. He's special. He was born to do great things. And you know what?
Euparkeria will lay the foundations for a new group of reptiles, the dinosaurs.
They were right. Back to the main story. The Lystrosaurus herd has reached the river. Crossing it is easier said than done, as its width changes every time new stock footage is shown. There are good eats on the other side, as well as a house and a car and some happiness. But as you can see, it isn't enough motivation. Because Kenny says they're smart enough to understand that they themselves are good eats. The gods aren't out of tricks though. There is no better time to see the Schizolystro in action. Hey, it's me, the voice in your head. Excellent. The subject has taken the plunge. All that can be done now is to wait. So, his buddies. That's not a good word to use. Co-workers are standing back thinking the first guy will be good enough nutrition for the Chasmatosaurs, who are making their way gently down the stream. But that means more plants for the first guy if he does make it across. They'll jump in soon enough. Speaking of which, it's vital the first guy gets ashore so the gods can use him again for future slaughters. Unfortunately, the Chasmatosaurs aren't aware of the plan. Kenny said some of them haven't eaten since the last Lystrosaurus migration. Why should they give a fuck? Hopefully they get distracted by the fact that the plan is working. More Lystrosauruses are jumping in with a false sense of security. That's part 1 taken care of. But did the Schizolystro make it across? He did. Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that. Ooh. At least he's relatively made it across, which means that the gods won't feel bad for engaging in a mild amount of tomfoolery. These guys, however, the Chasmatosaurs will take care of it anyway. Perfect. He has made it to the other side. Now kill them all. Kill them all dead. Okay, my behavior may have been questionable this entire segment, but think of the good that is being done here. The gods are saving the Antarctic wildlife and ecosystem that I hope lasts until the 21st century. I'm a motherfucking shark, but even I find that image a tad nightmarish. Oh, that? I'll swim and sleep like a baby does. You know, for as much shit as the amphibians have been subjected to throughout this entire series, I gotta say, the Lystrosaurus blows them out of the water for being the worst treated animal in this entire documentary series. Kenny himself is speechless for a whole 63 seconds. Which means I gotta shut the fuck up. This is how it was likely to go even without divine intervention. The supremacy of the Lystrosaurus wasn't going to plateau. Stronger predators and hungrier herbivores will emerge from the rubble of the Great Dying. Kenny's time as a fan of this class has ended. I'll give him credit, he managed to remain loyal for about 50 million years worth of content. But it doesn't matter. He rushes through their descent into irrelevance like he didn't even know that the Lystosauruses were animals with hopes and dreams.
But the brief glory days of these strange mammal-like reptiles will soon be gone.
It's justified though. Clearly it is time to move on to the next chapter. The Euparkeria spawns in via console commands for some good old symbolism. He wanders through a field of dead non-mammalian synapsids and those weird archosaurs that peaked in Middle Triassic school. The stage is set for the Euparkeria to show that he comes from a family that reads good books.
His descendants will be known as the most notorious monsters of them all. Dinosaurs.
Yeah, but like, what time is it, BBC? What else is there to say? The world is no longer a synapsid's playground. Their ultimate rival innovated while they stagnated. Kenny has left them. He doesn't care enough to reflect on what we've witnessed for just a second. This is a good time to say that Monsters is the weakest of the trilogy, due in massive part to how its animals are portrayed and treated. On top of only 2 segments not being just watch animals kill, fight, and die in all seriousness, the ending is oddly insulting. Dinosaurs and Beasts got ominous endings that showed the audience how fragile and unpredictable life is while being accompanied by unforgettable music and input from Kenny. Here, Kenny makes the themes of evolution, dominance, and survival that we were subjected to all just prologue to the rise of the dinosaurs. The closing track is Time of Titans, a Walking With Dinosaurs track through and through. The synapsids, at this point sliced down to cynodonts, are done dominating. I ask you, my mammalian remoras, for your family members that toiled through the Mesozoic, there's nothing you can do but find solace in their predicament. Believe it or not, there's a lot to appreciate. Necessity is the mother of invention. With hungry dinosaurs here, there, and everywhere, laying eggs is a liability. Better give birth to live young instead. They aren't completely helpless, but you gotta look out for them. Give them love and milk using those body parts humans like for some reason. But you can't help your pupsters if you can't help yourself, so you have to go outside with critical thinking, strong hearing, and a mustache. It may not be much to appreciate now, but warm blood, fur, and a capability to squirm into any ecological niche, just like Mesozoic reptiles, make up a fantastic foundation to build on when you get a second chance at world dominance. When, in bold, italics, and underlined, life is full of bullshit that we have no control over, but you're still here to do something about it. That is a blessing once you reminisce on the obstacles these lineages had to hurdle alongside others that failed, the creatures with no living relatives, the creatures that peaked, and the creatures that got eliminated from their families. For all of history, more has gone wrong than right. Retreating to safety is treated like some sort of humiliating defeat when it is anything but, because there is no greater privilege than being alive.